kind of company. As a designers, we want to change the world with a posture. That's what the saying is. Now, a particular problem of a user can be solved with an excellent innovation that has come to your head, but there is already an established way to get that task done. Now, how tempting is it to be disruptive?
It is very tempting, but when we say, for example, the innovation is good, of course it is good, it helps, but we need to look at it in terms of feasibility. The innovation which I am proposing, is it going to cost our company lots of money, in terms of time? So we need to check that, validate it with the feasibility. We need also to check how quickly we can deliver that innovation. If that makes sense, we should go and quickly implement that innovation. Otherwise, we should go with whatever is what do you say, the earlier methods which has been tried and tested.
All right. So, do you think Indian design industry as a whole is very much influenced by the West culture and the way West designers do their work? Is it a good thing?
I don't think so. Indian design industry was influenced by waste, as I think we started late. We were introduced to internet a little later state. The problems which started to come to our ways was probably at a later stage. Indian business community also, they were introduced to user experience pretty late as compared to the West. So it happened that way. These guys started early. They've set the processes. So there was a lot of things which was there for us for a reference, as I can say. We were not influenced, but there was a reference available for us. And what happens is, for example, for us, we are also in a position to build our community as a design community, right? What happens is, in business also, what happens is, probably see, they have done this earlier, why can't we follow? So that's where we it looks like that we are being influenced, but I don't think we are also doing, as an Indian design company, there are a lot of good companies, a lot of good works happening, which is in terms of innovation. They are doing a lot of original stuff, and as I can sense or see, probably we will go beyond what the West is doing. So we will be moving faster in terms of originality, innovation. We are learning a lot of things as a community, as a design community. There are a lot of things which we are learning. We are learning to be process oriented, which we were not. We were learning to be. We have designers. As a designer, we have started documenting stuff where earlier was missing. So there are a lot of things which are taking places, and I think we are moving towards that.
So, the way we can look at it is, you have to get a design which the user is comfortable with. So in this process, most of the time what happens is, a company or a designer should most of the time should go with a design which has been already established, because the user is used to using it. So is it fair to say or right to say that a good design is most of the time copied?
It is. I don't know if I can say it copied, but if the moment I say copy, then it's not a good design, I would say. So, as there is a quote by Mr. Pablo Picasso saying that, good designers copy, great designers steal.
Yes.
So that's the thing. So if you have to, you have to go in detail of that. There are a lot of meanings, but I believe so the moment you copy, it becomes it's not a good thing. But probably you can influence, you can learn a lot of things from the good design which has been done, why it has been designed. There is a time spent on designing those things. So there is probably, you don't need to reinvent that wheel again. There is a lot of things you can pick and then use it in your design to make it workable. So I don't say, the copy is not, but getting, you can, there is a reference available which you can take, and nothing harm in it. It helps.
So what do you think is your USP as a designer? Meaning, one thing about design that you believe in, which makes you a better designer?
I don't know. So probably simplicity. So what I believe is my company's core value is also one of my core values is simplicity. So what I believe is less is more is what I believe in. I practice that. Okay. And for me, I think my USP would be that I would I would want to create a design which is noiseless, minimal, yet impactful and useful for the users.
So HotStar, it's a great app. I've been using it, and it's a very exciting app to look at because it's an entertainment platform. Yes. It has been really exciting for you also. But how do you be sure about the changes that you give in a design of such a product which is going to affect millions of users? And how do you sell this change to a stakeholder? Or multiple stakeholders who might have a lot of things at stake with the product, because any design change and probably the traffic might drive somewhere else and something different might happen. So how do you sell this thing to a stakeholder in a meeting room, probably showing them a presentation or something? What is the process you follow?
So in a product company like HotStar, for example, the problem is I don't need to sell a solution for a problem. In a product company, what happens is the every unit combines themselves. So there is a problem. If there is a problem, then there is a problem for the product, and then we have to as a group need to solve that problem. And then when that problem is there, probably the role differs. So within that problem, what the product role could be, what the design role could be, and what could be the tech side, that happens. And once that segregation happens, then what happens is we provide a solution which we thought is a right way to approach that problem, and then the discussions happens. But so that's how we generally approach to that problem in terms of UX. So if there is a problem and there is a UX challenge which needs to be solved, then we go back to our design domain, we work on something, and then we present it to the stakeholders. So that's how it works in a product company, and it should work, ideally. So it's not a problem for a specific unit, but it is a problem for
the tech and the product team also. So ideally it is the head of the design team and the head of the tech team and the product team sitting together in a room and solving a problem, and probably going back to the desk with the team like, this is a problem we are facing, and this is how we are going to solve it.
Yeah, so I will not go with in that hierarchy kind of thing. I don't believe in hierarchy. Even for example, HotStar, there was no hierarchy. It was a very extremely transparent organization in terms of that. So probably if there is a problem, then everybody who's there as a responsible persons will come, sit together, brainstorm, ideate, evaluate, and then come with a solution.
Okay, so personally I have enjoyed using HotStar before. Like I've used it during travel, and it works well in mobile data as well. Now talking about mobile, now since the 65 to 70% transactions happening from mobile web now, the screen size for design is actually reducing from a desktop to a mobile to watches and to no interface designs like voice and gestures. Yes. Now, what advice would you give to a designer, to a young designer or a practicing designer, to cope up with this rapid change? Because it is a really rapid change that is going on right now.
It is, and isn't it fascinating? For me as a designer, it's amazing. It's always fascinates me the way technology is changing. So, for example, for me, or if I have to give any advice to the younger guys, I'll say, keep learning, keep your eyes, ears open. There is a lot to learn. Don't be afraid. Just start working with the technology. For example, there is a fear that AI might kill the designers, but design cannot be killed. You need humans. You need human designs. So what I would suggest them is to don't be afraid, but work with the technology. Try to work with them, and then it'll make your world more happy. So yeah.
So talking about these young designers who will probably follow your advice because it's a great one. What do you look into? What do you look in a designer when you're hiring them? How to impress Amit Bhambere a design interview?
No, I think it is. I am always in awe for all these younger guys. I just love whatever the young breed is coming out of. These guys are extremely intelligent, very tech savvy. Unlike us, I generally take little more time to understand the technology, but these guys are smart. So for me, I think when I'm building my team here, what I look for is probably first is the culture. What is the culture I am going to have in terms of a design team? And after that culture follows, so let the titles be aside. So if I have to form my design team or I have to hire somebody, what I would look for them is that guy going to teach me something new? Is that guy passionate about what he is doing? Is he not going towards jargons rather than going towards the actual how he is trying to solve the problem, unless using jargons? Yeah, that impresses me. I think the more simple open you are, the more easier it is to work with you, read you.
So oriented towards the problem,
Yeah, oriented towards
even
the
if
problem
it's solved in the simplest way.
Absolutely. So for me, I mean, design school helps. As I've told you, it gives you a very good foundation about the principles of design. So you are aligned to the what where the design is going, or what are the fundamentals of design. So design schools helps in terms of if I'm hiring somebody, but that's not a must do. I would generally see if that guy is passionate enough to work with us. Is he aligned to my work culture? Is he good enough to is he a learning person, or he is content with whatever he has, and is he open to, for example, work on various different challenges?
So while forming a design team, like you're forming one here at LY Design, what is an ideal design structure, team structure for you that works outstanding to create excellent products? So what kind of people you need, and how many people do you need for a design team to work excellently?
So for example, it depends on how much work you have, but what I would say is there are ideal design team structures available, but I generally, what I believe is, I don't go for those labels. So I will not put or hire somebody saying that you are a visual designer, you are an information designer, or you are an interaction designer. But I would probably, what I will do is, I will find out two core areas which he or she has, and then probably I would try to utilize them in a way that suits my company, my culture, my work which is going to happen. So I would probably, what I do is, I would hire those kind of persons, rather than labeling it saying that you'll be only work on visual design, because then I'm limiting him or her to a certain section. I would want him to learn lot of things, and that's what I would go for.
So talking about a product then, how many such designers who can work on two or more domains? How many such designers do you require, or not? Let's keep the design term aside for now. How many such people or team members you need for a product to do well in the market?
For a product, I think
So like an ideal team working on a single product. So you might need team members to work with you on that product. So how many such people, and what kind of people?
I still believe so. There should be two dedicated designers. I would call them designers, because they are the ones who will be the custodians in terms of all facets of design. These guys are working, probably one senior, one junior, and I would also need the content writer. Content plays very important role in terms of designs. Content writers are very much aligned to the design function. So I would need someone who's writing content, who's managing them, and I think that should be enough. Probably a product manager. Yeah.
All right. So talking about teams now, it is very important for a design team to be in sync with the development team for a product to be fruitful. How do you bring designers and developers on the same page?
There is a lot of being talked about, do designers need to code? I mean, do they need to code, or should they code? So my answer should be, I think, no, we don't need to code, but we should know what technology functions is. We should have an overview in terms of, we should know what these guys are talking about. There has to be a same language when I am talking to them or they are talking to me. Why I'll say you should not code is because there is a huge field in terms of coding is just one term, but there's lot many things which are there in terms of to know or learn about technology. As a designer, you should first learn. There's a lot to learn in terms of design, which is still pending. So you should learn that. You should practice, focus on your core area. Of course, you should have. So it becomes easier for you to know what these guys are talking. You should always be familiar with them. I won't say you should code, but it is a good advantage that you know how to code. Probably you will not code. I'll not say that you should code, but so that becomes easier. So the language which we are speaking, the tech or as a design, it is the same. So it becomes easier for them to understand us and vice versa.
So there needs to be like products like InVision and Sketch are the bridge between designers and
absolutely. So exactly. So what happened is, for example, when there was no, say, Zeppelin, or there was no InVision, what used to happen was there was a lot of effort which used to go creating the style guides, the style sheets, and give it to the developers. But now that has changed. So these guys are like boon for designers. They are the ones who are bridging the gap. So almost the designers are becoming the developers are becoming designers. But I would still feel there are two different core areas. You should not venture into them. Of course, you should have a good knowledge, and you will get that knowledge since you will start working with them. So it is not that you will learn, I mean, from a courses, but you should learn with people whom you are working with.
So now that we have a design team in place, and now we have the development team in place, and they both are in sync pretty well, and you have a product now, you have a problem statement for the product. What stepwise UI UX or process do you follow to make a UX friendly product?
So there is a defined process. So it is I don't think it has been coined by me. It is there available, which I have been using, which makes sense. So it generally starts with a research. So in research, say probably there are few parts like competitive analysis. For example, if there is required, you do a competitive analysis. Then you do a user data analysis. You also do user feedback or user analysis. So these three type of analysis is what we start. So we start building. So there is a problem, we start with that problem, we identify, and then we start the research. On that research, we tend to create the use cases, user personas, user flows. So everything is defined. We know the targeted user, or what is his journey looks like, what is his journey in terms of cases, use cases, or user flow. And then we move towards the prototyping part, where you do the low fidelity prototype and then move towards high fidelity. I still believe, so there will be an advice for younger designers is, don't forget to use the pencil. I come from a school where I have always, so I still do sketching a lot. So I would suggest them that don't forget to do the sketching. Sketching is essential. So right from sketching, for example, right from paper and pencil, the prototype, the to low fidelity to becomes the high fidelity, and from high fidelity then comes the visual design. So for example, the icons, the mood of the application, the colors, the typography. Then comes the emotional or the delight part, where micro interactions, micro copy, interaction design, and all that things happen. Then comes the probably the user testing, where we test the users, probably if at all possible, do the A/B testing, some kind of testing, validate, and then go live.
is this fair to say that there is no stopping in a design process, because then you keep on enhancing based on the feedback loops later?
Absolutely. So you can probably go back again if there is a problem. So that's why I think what I've said was you have to be connected to the users all the time. You should always open to the feedback. That feedback loop or the feedback channel has to be 24/7 open, so that you can come back, go back to wherever you need to be in that process, and then again start towards building that product.
So this process that you just told me about, is this the same process that are being taught in the design schools, or is it like a designer who is maybe from a design school or maybe not from a designer school? He gets into an industry, and he or she figures out that, okay, this is the process that I need to follow, which this suits me. Is it something that is taught in a design school, or it's something that comes naturally?
Sure. So it is definitely being taught in design school. This is what you learn in design school. The current design courses which are defined, the process has been taught. The thing is, it differs from company to company. It differs from what management feels about the design process, or the community as such. So, but yes, this is what the process is, and this is what you should ideally follow, but it depends on the project scope, timeline. There are a lot of other things which are involved in terms of deciding that. So whenever that process comes, this is almost like a checklist. So if there is a problem, then there is a checklist available. This is a defined process. You check which is applicable for this problem solving, and then you use that. Ideally, in an ideal scenario, you should use complete from, say, research to testing, but in some cases you need to skip those in between steps. Okay. That happens.
So let's talk about your current position at LY. Why did you what is the thinking behind the name Lemon Yellow actually?
So what we wanted to, so as for example, one of the core values of my team is simplicity. Minimalism is what we follow. So lemon yellow is a color which is again a very basic palette color. It doesn't force you to go for a color value. So for example, blue is meant for something. Orange is, for example, attached to a one particular. So we wanted something which is very simple. There is simplicity in every design that we do. So that's why our and of course it is one of our favorite colors. So my elder brother, who's the one who we both have founded that company. So that's why lemon yellow.
So what are your plans in the future? Firstly, for design for yourself, and how do you look yourself in the design ecosystem? And secondly, how do you see LY design in the coming years?
So as I've told you earlier, I think there is an exciting time being a designer, being in a designing community. What I wanted to do was, so as our tagline also says, so we design digital happiness. We want to create happiness for the end users. So that's the reason I said that's the feeling I got when I started my own company. We want to do something where we can add to the design community as whole, and of course if we could serve better to the end users, solving end users real problems. Being there in the 16 to 17 years spending in design industry, I felt this is the right time to start your own design company where you are in control of your own space. You can define or solve the problems in your way, or in your processes, what you define.
Okay, all right. It was amazing talking to you. It was I had a great time. Thank you so much again for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you.